always arrive right on the hour, but tonight we have a different type of problem. So get cozy, get to know your neighbor, and be creative in terms of seating. I think we're getting close to the end. Do you want to? Your show, buddy. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead, I think, and get started. I'm Warren Kistner. I'm director of the Hart Career Center here at the university. And I think all of you know that we offer a variety of programming throughout the year on topics that you would expect. Resume writing, interviewing, job search strategies. One of the things that we started to hear a few years ago was the importance of financial literacy. And we also heard that nobody was really providing this. Now, you might get some of these tips in class, but once you graduate, these things called student loans have a funny way of coming due. There are some potholes that I didn't avoid, but I'm hoping you'll avoid with the guidance of our speaker this evening. So we added a program on financial planning to our schedule, and it has been very successful. I'm going to let Pat Zajac, who is our special events coordinator for the Career Center, introduce this evening's speaker, but I am going to ask you something. I know that all of you are busy, but I would appreciate it unless you absolutely have to be somewhere that you hang in here with us until the end, because I think that's respectful of our speaker. He's donated his time to come out and join us tonight, so if at all possible, please stay with us until the end of the program. I know you're going to find tonight's information to be extremely helpful. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick.
Thanks, Warren. Well, first off, as Warren said, thank you so much for coming out. And thank you for sitting on the floor. This is a really important event, and we couldn't do it without the support of student organizations. So first off, American Marketing Association (AMA) helped promote it. Alpha Kappa Psi, Investment Club, Collegiate Women's Network, and Accounting Society. So when we have these events, it's important to have the support of RSOs on campus, and we couldn't. So thank you all for helping with the promotion. And just before I introduce Kevin, we do have a couple upcoming panels that can be very beneficial for you. So anyone interested in healthcare, we're having a healthcare panel next Tuesday, 7 p.m. in the same place. We're having two doctors that are alumni, a pediatrician, orthopedic surgeon, an OT that's an alum, a physical therapist who works in town. He's actually just was named an NFL referee, so he'd be really cool, a PA, and a dentist. So anyone interested in healthcare, no matter what year in school you are, come out next Tuesday, 7 p.m. in the Welcome Center. And also our last panel of the year is our legal alumni panel, so anyone interested in a career in law, Thursday, April 12th at 7 p.m. in the Welcome Center as well. We're having 6 awesome alumni that are either lawyers or are in graduate school now to become a lawyer. So for that event, you just have to register just so we have a sense of what questions we want to ask. So just check your email out in the next couple of days and you will get an email. So anyone interested in healthcare, next Tuesday, and then Thursday, April 12th for our healthcare, or for our legal panel. And then, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kevin Kibler. For the last 2 years, he's come to campus to present about financial literacy. He has over 25 years of experience in accounting and finance. He advises clients every day and financial literacy and investing. And as students, as Warren said, it's so important for all of us. So we're going to have to pay off loans soon, especially seniors who graduate in a couple months. Our loans will kick in. And there's so much we can do as students that we can save money to really have some income after college and start saving for retirement now. So without further ado, Kevin Kibler, and thank you so much for donating your time today.
Thank you.
Well, it is a great pleasure to be with all of you today. There is nothing more exciting to have a room full of students who are excited about financial literacy, or who will be by the end of this. That's my goal, at least. All right. Who thinks they're pretty financial literate? Just by show of hands. Anyone? Yeah, very few. That's one of the things that I found. I've got kids, and we're going to get into this, but just as a brief intro, my kids are 22 and 21, so they're in your shoes. They've been there, and we just don't do a good job in our world of teaching some of the things to help get you started. And tonight's going to be like drinking through the fire hose, all right? We're going to throw a lot of stuff at you. Some of it's going to stick and some isn't. I'm going to make sure that there are business cards out there. I just sent Pat to my car with my keys. That's probably not a smart thing to do. But I brought more business cards because I think I'm going to need them with this group. And if he doesn't come back, someone else has to get me back home tonight. But anyway, my goal is for you to take something home with you today, all right? Take something that in a further life you think about and say, you know what, I learned about that. At least I know I need to get help or guidance or something related to whatever that topic is. Okay? So again, thank you for letting me be here. I hope this is going to be great. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am. You can see I've got a couple sets of letters after my name. What I tell my clients is that just means I know a thing or two. All right? I do have an accounting degree from Truman State University. I bleed purple, not green, but I'm very happy to have green on. Not the right green, but at least a green on today. I was very active in college, did a lot of stuff, and I think those are the things that really help prepare us to be great in our world when we're active in college. And you can see what those abbreviations mean. This is my wonderful family. I married a Truman State grad as well. We met and she went on to law school. I've got 2 kids. My son is selling livestock feed. Owned a house at 21. That just says that we were doing something well. I'll get more into that. My daughter is a senior by hours, junior by years, and she's at Truman as well. So all 4 of us are Truman State people. You can see they get their good looks from their mother, not from their father, which is a good thing. All right? So let me tell you about my start and where I was when I was sitting in your shoes. I graduated in 1990. I had no debt, all right, which was a great thing. I actually had a full ride academic scholarship. My parents determined that was the only way to go to school. I did have a little bit of savings. I bought a brand new car. And you can see I wrote mistake there. We'll get into that in just a little bit. I got married in 91. I married into debt. All right. My wife went on to law school and had law school loans and no savings. We lived in an apartment for a couple years. Why? Because we didn't have the money for a down payment. We saved some money. We built our first house. We started as DINKS. Who knows what DINKS stands for?
Double income, no kids.
Double income, no kids. That's not a thing today, but that's a pretty sweet life when you've got 2 incomes, you don't have kids, because just so you know, kids are expensive, all right? They are. And even back in those days, kids were super expensive. And then blessed with a son and a daughter. And one of the things here is that we had to keep up with the Joneses. We sometimes put our wants over needs, all right? And that's a really big distinction in understanding the difference between what you need and what you want. And I know for a fact that most of us believe we need a whole lot more than what we truly need. Those are called wants. And we'll go into some of that again. So that's how I started, all right? Let's talk about your opportunities as you get out of school, all right? One of the big things is that oftentimes we're going to have debt, all right? We're going to have college loans, maybe some credit cards, maybe you're going to buy a car, have car loans. You want to establish good, if not great, financial habits right from the start. Because if you don't, it's hard to get into those later. All right? Doing bad habits is tough. And then getting into the good ones later. And you can see living below your means. All right? Every day I work with people who, most of them, do not have millions and millions and millions of dollars that can live super comfortably on. All right? Doing the right planning, they're going to be fine. But if we do some things early on in life to make good decisions, that's going to make a big difference later on. Another opportunity is merging your life with a significant other. That is a major event and one that you must understand the financial consequences of. All right? And starting your savings and then dreaming and planning for the future. So these are all the things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to do them in 10 different sections, all right? If you have questions, raise your hand. I'll be happy to answer your questions throughout. I will stick around and answer as many questions as you need at the end. So if it's a more personal question or something, we can do that. But if you have questions that are for the good of the group, please raise your hand. I'll answer those as I go. All right? So number one, managing debt. Who's going to come out of school debt-free? I see a few hands. Raise them high. That's a great thing. What a great thing. All right? But you can see that that's not most of you. So for the rest of you, we have to start thinking about the debt and how we manage that. Okay? Basically, you may have 3 different types of debt. Credit cards, student loans, car loans. All right? These are things that you might have. One of the things I added here recently, a lot of people don't understand or get the need to have a credit card. Who has a credit card? In their own name. Not in a parent's name. It's got to be in your name only. Okay, good. If you don't, go get one. Okay? I want you to be very responsible with it, but you have to build credit. All right? I mentioned my son bought a house at 21. Do you think he did that if he didn't have a credit card and have a credit history? All right? No, you can't do that. So get a credit card, buy a tank of gas, pay it off every month, and just build some history. All right? That's an important part to getting out into the world and being able to do the other things that are so important to you. All right? Don't, however, make mistakes with credit cards. I sat down with a couple at their house one evening. They had young kids, so I went to their house. And we were trying to do some planning, and I said, okay, what's your biggest thing? We want to manage our debt. We want to figure out. So we got out all these credit cards, started adding them up, $86,000 of credit card debt. Okay? And some of you are looking at me like, really? All the stories I tell you are real. I'm not making them up. These are all real life. But they had $86,000 of credit card debt. And most of them were at 19% or more. They were paying over $2,000 a month in interest on credit cards. Okay? You can go really south if you do credit cards wrong. Credit cards, if you're going to use them, pay them off every month without exception. Okay? Credit cards typically have the highest rate of interest. So if you're dealing with some debt, you don't want to take the smallest piece of debt. You want to take the one with the highest interest rate and get rid of that first. Okay? It seems logical, but most people don't think about it that way. Okay? Car loans second, and then student loans last. Let's talk about student loans for a minute. What happens if you're not here tomorrow to your student loan? What's that?
They get inherited by your parents.
It depends. What kind of loans you have? Do you have your parents co-signed on those loans? If your parents co-signed and you happen to pass away, his parents are stuck with his debt. Okay? A lot of people don't think about that until we rack up $100,000 of debt and heaven forbid something horrible happens to a young person, and then the parents are taking care of this debt. All right? We're going to get into some things to take care of that. But what about student loans that are only in your name, funded by the government? What happens to those? Anyone? Interactive part of the day. They go away. All right? So you want to be cautious in using loans that are co-signed with your parents because there's an additional obligation that might be there if you weren't. Okay? So in managing the debt, you want to try to make sure you get rid of highest interest rate stuff first. Okay? Debt is not always bad. You just have to be able to manage it. The debt that you incur has allowed you to get the education and to get the job that you're going to have, correct? And if you didn't have that debt, you wouldn't have that job. So it's not a bad thing. You just want to be able to manage it properly and be able to pay it off in a very smart manner. Okay? So when we think about debt, one of our goals here is to only carry debt on a house. Okay? And in a perfect world, not even that. But that gives you an idea of how to manage those pieces. Okay? Living on dirt. Who feels like they're living on dirt today? Anyone? Okay. Good. You don't have to. So one of the things, though, when we get out of school, if we're managing our debt, we're managing an apartment, we're managing a car, we're managing all of these other expenses. The question is, how do we make all of those dollars work, okay? If you have a car, does it run without costing you an arm and a leg, then keep it. Remember what I said about my new car? What was that for me? It was a mistake, okay? You know, when I got a job in public accounting, I thought I earned the right to a nice car, all right? And it was a great car, I loved it. I had to have it repainted within a month because where I bought it in St. Louis, it had acid rain on it. So if you're a car person, all right, and you got to get a brand new car repainted in the first month, it sort of stinks, all right? But I would have done that differently. I would have either bought a lesser new car, all right, or I would have bought a used car. I would not have spent the money that I did because I could have been doing a lot of the other things that I have in my presentation instead. All right? But I had a really nice car. It's a Pontiac Grand Prix, two-door, looked like a airplane in the dash. It was pretty darn cool. All right? Rent. Share if you can. If you go to a big city, rent is outrageous. Got a client who works in Boston. All right? Boston rent is ridiculous. All right? You have to share. Typically, when you're in college, you share anyway, right? So if you want to manage your expenses, you want to pay down debt, you want to do some things, think about sharing as you move out. Not that you need to do it forever, but for a while. Vacations, keep them simple and fun. You have to enjoy, life is too short not to enjoy it today, right? We can plan all we want, and we can have all the money in the bank, but if we don't enjoy a little bit of life today, life can stink, all right? So make sure that you're enjoying that. Make sure that you are enjoying some vacations and not sitting in your apartment and putting all your money away, all right? Because I'm going to tell you that's an important thing to do, all right? And yes, you need to do it, but enjoy the vacations. Keep them simple and fun. And beer, you buy it on sale just like you do now. It's no different, all right? Just like now. So, you know, some goals. We want to be able to have zero debt. We want to be able to start retirement savings early, which all of these things are going to allow us to do. And we want to be able to put money down on a home. If you remember, I mentioned that I rented an apartment for 2 years. Why? Because I didn't have enough cash to be able to put a down payment. All right? Typically, you want to put 5 to 20% down. 20% is sort of a magic number. But you want to be able to put cash down on your home so that you're not paying PMI, private mortgage insurance. So typically when you get out of school, you have to save up that cash. My experiences, we took a couple years to save up, had that cash, and then we were able to move on to a home, because we'll talk about ownership here in just a little bit. Okay? Let's talk about saving for retirement. When you get out of school, if you can start saving immediately, you are much better than most of the world. I just had clients in my office today at 2 o'clock, and I told them, I said, I talk about you guys all the time, right? Because these are wonderful clients, they're wonderful people. They came to me, they were in their 50s, and they said, Kevin, we're excited, we got our kids through school, debt's all gone, and we're ready to retire. And I said, great, what do you have? They looked at me and they looked at each other. I'm like, well, nothing. And I said, well, we got some work to do, all right? And today I told them, you know what? You've accumulated the dollars you needed to accumulate. You can now retire. And so she said, in September, I'm going to be done, all right? But you don't want to be those people that get to a great point in their life and say, I'm ready, and not have anything, all right? So let's talk about some of the things. When you get out, all right, I'm just going to put a couple of these up and then we'll talk about them. There are opportunities for you to save. Most of you have heard of 401ks. 403b is a similar thing, just in a nonprofit or hospital type situation where you'll see 403bs. IRAs, Roth, employee stock option plan, those are all different types of retirement plans. All right? In a 401k, let's say you get out, you get started, and your company offers you a 401k. What a great place to put your money away. Okay? It'll come out of your paycheck, you will never see it, and you got savings. Right? What a great thing. If you don't have a company that offers a retirement plan, and some companies aren't, it's, depending on the size of the company or different things, they may not have a plan. And you may be able to use then what's an IRA or a Roth IRA. Who can tell me the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA? Somebody? Anyone? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Timing of tax.
Timing of tax, help me with that. When do taxes come on an IRA?
When you put it in,
Okay,
and the Roth is when you take the money out. Or is
Okay.
it
you got it backwards, but it was a darn good effort. So the difference between an IRA and a Roth is how you are taxed. If you put money into a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k, right, you get a tax break today. Typically, when you first get out of school, taxes aren't your biggest issue, okay? If you get the tax break, great. If you're making tons of money, 6 figures and that kind of stuff, taxes may be an issue. But if it's not an issue, I'm going to encourage you to use a Roth. With the Roth, you do not get a tax break today. So no tax break today, but those dollars are completely tax-free when I take them out. All of the growth and all of the gains and all of what I put in are completely tax-free when I take them out. In a perfect world, I like to have both a taxable and a tax-free bucket, okay? And different times in life, as you move up in life, you may get to a point, you want to get to a point, where you no longer can contribute to a Roth IRA, okay? Because there are IRS limits, and you might not. So when you first get out of school, the one thing you want to think about is contributing to one or the other. You can put, in today's law, up to $5,500 a year into your IRA or your Roth. So if we talk about savings, in the next 40 years, all right, let's say we put $5,500. That's a magic number because that's the maximum that you can put into a Roth or an IRA. And you just put that away for 10 years. Okay, so $55,000 is what you put away. And you don't put another dime in. At age 60, you're going to have over $800,000. Okay, assuming 8% rate of return. Make sure you read all my fine print that my compliance people make me put on here. If, on the other hand, you saved $2,000 a year for 40 years, so $80,000, you're only going to have just over $500,000. This is called the time value of money, all right? The more money you put away early, the more. So all of us would like to have the 800 versus the 500, right? And most of us aren't going to just put it away for 10 years and stop. However, the reality of having kids and different things like that, say if I can put it away before I have kids when I'm a dink, okay, when I have the income to do it, then that's a good time to do it. And oh, by the way, that was a better option than putting in a smaller amount for a longer period of time. Okay? So let's talk about Social Security. Social Security is a program where you put money in, comes out of your paycheck each and every time. All right? All those who are working today, you've seen that come out of your paycheck. Those dollars, all right, are intended for you to receive when you retire. Okay? Who knows what happens in 2033, sorry.
You're going negative.
Yeah. So what does that mean to you?
We pay for the older generation that's retiring right now, and so there won't be enough of us to pay for the amount of them that are retiring.
So does that scare you?
No, because then it'll go back into the positive in 20s, or it'll flatten back out in like 2036 or something like that.
You think so?
It's supposed to.
The math doesn't work.
It's such a cost.
The Government Accounting Office tells us that in 2033, Social Security starts to go backwards, all right? And I don't know, there's a lot of different answers to this, all right? I don't know what the answer is going to be. My point in this presentation is that I want you to be the ones that think about your retirement, not relying on somebody else, okay? Unless you have a very rich uncle and aunt that are going to leave you a ton of money when you die, when they die, all right? If that's your retirement plan, great. Please introduce me to your uncle and aunt, all right? If not, I want you to think about who really cares about your retirement, and the answer is you, all right? When my dad retired, he called me one day, and he said, thank you. You're welcome, what'd I do? He said, well, I got my Social Security check, and I just want to thank you for putting in, all right? we are not having enough kids today, and our population is living longer, so the math just doesn't work really well. All right? I don't know what's going to happen in the future. What I'm going to suggest to you is that I might get what's left, and if I were you, I would be a little bit concerned about what you're going to end up getting. All right? And that's not to be a scary, and that's not a political statement or anything. That's only, I want you to be the one that cares about your retirement. All right? And make sure that any of the others is extra. Okay? So let's talk about some goals here. And when we talked about the 401k and the 403b, so your company plans at work allow you to put more money away. All right? So you can put 18, and I realized that my last presentation I forgot to update. It's 18.5 in the current year in 2018. So you can put a whole lot more away into your 401k at work, into a 403b. If you don't have those, then you are limited by that $5,500. But you can see the more you put away at an early age, the better off you're going to be in your long haul. Okay? All right. Let's talk about partnerships and marriage and the pursuit of happiness. One of the things that I see more and more is I see divorce on a regular basis. I see what it does to families, and I see what it does to their